Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies and show you how they were made. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at Nosferatu, a Symphony of Horror, a German film released in 1922. Vampires have been a perennial presence in horror films and movies at large, from Twilight to The Lost Boys, all the way back to Universal's Dracula. But it started almost a decade earlier than that with F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu. This was an unauthorized adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is why the vampire's name isn't Dracula. It's not Nosferatu either. It's Count Orlok, a change made by screenwriter Henrik Galeen to cater to the German audience, and more importantly, ward off legal troubles. Similarly, Jonathan Harker became Thomas Hutter, his wife Mina became Ellen, Renfield became Nock, etc., etc. Galeen also streamlined the story, removing the Van Helsing character and all those hot Dracula brides, and changed the setting from 1890s England to 1830s Germany. Despite the changes, Nosferatu still got in legal trouble with the Stoker estate. Bram's widow Florence sued the production for their profits, only to find that there were none. The movie had flopped, and its studio Prana Films had gone bankrupt. So instead, she insisted every single print and copy of the film be destroyed. A German judge agreed, and the movie very nearly became lost media. Thankfully, enough surviving prints were placed together to give us a more or less authentic recreation of the film as it was originally screened. Nosferatu is the world's oldest surviving vampire movie, its legacy influencing everything from Salem's Lot to What We Do in the Shadows. He's even a recurring character in SpongeBob.
Nosferatu!
The film also directly inspired a 1979 Werner Herzog adaptation and 2000's Shadow of the Vampire, a fictionalized retelling of the film's production. Robert Eggers just made his own horny version, which comes out on Christmas Day, starring Bill Skarsgård as the new Count Orlok, or if you prefer, the Nosferatu. This is by far the oldest film covered on the Kill Count. It is literally over 100 years old, and it sometimes shows its age. Filmmaking was still a new art form back then, so not only will you notice the film stock grain, but oftentimes the cuts between shots. The performers give exaggerated expressions and movements, since acting was still strongly tied to its stagecraft roots and had to make up for technological limitations. It can be hard to relate to a movie like this, with its lack of color and choppy frame rate, but if you can see through all that, it's pretty cool to realize you're watching people and places as they were more than a century ago. This was a low-budget movie, so it didn't have sets. These are actual towns and actual castles in the actual mountains. Personally, I think that's pretty cool, and makes it worth watching films this old every once in a while. That, and the fact that this is horror history. And I don't care how old it is, Count Orlok is still unsettling as fuck. This movie is silent, but that wasn't. Oh, God, Zorn, are you okay?
No, I'm not okay. I hear him, James. His call as I sleep, it needles at my mind and compels me.
Oh, God. Well, here. Take my Oslo sleep buds from today's partner, Oslo. It'll help you block out the noise. They're earbuds I wear while I sleep to tune out sleep-disrupting sounds, all thanks to a design that rests comfortably in the ear and swappable silicone wingtips that ensure the perfect fit. That means you don't have to worry about them getting knocked out while you're knocked out.
So I'll be free of his siren song?
Yeah, man, while you're wearing them at least. But they hold 10 hours of charge, so that'll definitely get you through the night.
Yes, I'll recharge during the day, when his voice cannot haunt the recesses of my dreams.
Sure, instead, you can get the best sleep of your life listening to whatever you want. Whether it's your favorite podcast, your go-to music, or science-backed sleep sounds that come installed directly on the buds, meaning you can still use them entirely free of your phone. So you can finally get the all-important rest you need. And you can too! By scanning the QR code, clicking the link in the description, or using code DEADMEAT for $10 off your pair of Oslo sleep buds. So, no more Nosferatu for you.
Nosferatu? Oh, no. I'm talking about my baby. You know, Phoenix, my kid. He keeps me up at night because he doesn't sleep through. Babies don't sleep through the night. It's a thing.
This movie is silent, but is it deadly? Let's find out and get to the kills. The movie begins talking about a great plague. There's a lot of text to read here, and the font is kind of annoying, but I can't knock it too much since it mentions a death bird calling your name at midnight. And you know what? That sounds fucking metal. Thomas Hutter and his young wife Ellen live in Wisborg, Germany in 1938. They love bringing each other flowers, laughing at random shit, and playing with their pussy. It's great. On his way to work, Hutter tips his hat to a professor who offers a tip of his own. No one can outrun their fate. Hutter thinks that's the funniest shit he's ever heard and chuckle fucks off from this Professor Oak mofo. Hutter works for Knock, a real estate agent with a shady reputation. Oh yeah? The townspeople talk shit about this guy? How come? He only looks like Danny DeVito's stuck his finger in a light socket. Knock's reading a note from the Zodiac killer and losing his ever-loving shit over it. Seriously, was there a gas leak in Wisborg? Or a Smilex attack? Why's everyone laughing all the goddamn time? Opportunity knocks for Hutter in the form of a wealthy foreign client. Count Orlok of Transylvania wants to buy a house in Wisborg, and Knock wants Hutter to handle the deal. If he closes on it, he'll earn money by the pound. Or mark, I guess. He advises Hutter to offer Orlok the house across from his own. It'll be great being neighbors with him, right, Hutter? Hutter agrees it's a fantastic idea. A real knee slapper. Okay, fellas, calm down. He heads home and tells Ellen he has to go meet Orlok in the land of phantoms? Wait, no. That can't be right. A guy like Knock would never send Hutter to the land of phantoms. Maybe he said, phantom. Yeah, land of phantom tax. Except instead of fries, it's fly honeys that Orlok be looking to steal. I mean, how could he resist Ellen? Hutter surely can't. Just look at their passionate, animalistic love. Ugh. Ellen is sad that Hutter has to leave, so he tries to cheer her up by letting her carry all his coats. He leaves her with his wealthy friend Harding. You can tell he's rich by the way he's standing there. Hutter hops a horse to Transylvania, nestled in the Carpathian Mountains of Romania. After a long and difficult and off-screen journey, he stops at an inn for a real quick chug-a-lug. He's eager to get to Orlok's place, which makes everyone there think Hutter's a nutter, especially Mustache Guy. They warn him not to go outside at night since there's a werewolf out there. Wait, that's the cutest werewolf I've ever seen! Also, it's clearly a hyena. Ain't y'all never seen a hyena before? Actually, I don't know, maybe they hadn't. No wonder the mysterious beast keeps them inside all night with its terrifying gaze. Hutter rents a room for the night and hits up the place's library, and wouldn't you know it, there's a book about vampires and the Seven Dwarfs. Or, sorry, Seven Deadly Sins. The book says vampires, or Nosferatu, sprang from the seed of, wait a minute, Belial? What? Hold up, does that mean this is Nosferatu's mom? Never forget the Basket Case 2 sex scene. I know I can't. Actually, Nosferatu might be a completely made up word. It's sometimes said that it's the Romanian word for vampire, or that it has roots in Latin or another dead language, but the word can't be traced back to any of them. It appeared in Emily Gerard's essay, Transylvanian Superstitions, which Bram Stoker read while researching for his novel. So, the word made it into Dracula, and Nosferatu screenwriter Henrik Galeen used it as the title of his screenplay. After reading one whole page, Hutter decides he's too vamp-tired for more. He gets some shut-eye and waits for the sun to rise on their little mountain, crater town? In the morning, Hutter finds himself pleased as can be, no longer afraid of ghouls. Ha, blood-sucking vampires. More like vampires suck on D's. Hutter catches a cab to the castle, but the scaredy-cat drivers refuse to take him all the way. They'd rather go fishing for horseflies elsewhere. He crosses a bridge into Dracula territory until he reaches the transfer station for another carriage line. His new rider comes bennying down the hill to pick him up. Nosferatu, who the hell is that? Oh, just a totally regular driver who's got like a noose. Don't worry about it. Himbo Hutter asks zero follow-up questions, even though that dude can barely control the carriage. Oh, and great, now they've wandered into negative imagery territory. This feels like one of those video game levels in Lorelei and the Laser Eyes. These shots are meant to take place in an eerily white forest, and to accomplish it, they wrapped the coach and driver in white cloth, then projected the image as a negative. That's the thing with silent films. They oftentimes weren't strictly black and white. They'd use colored tints to indicate the time of day. Nosferatu uses yellow for exterior daylight, blue for exterior night, amber for interior light, and pink for dawn. That means it's almost midnight when the driver gets him to his castle, or Orlok's castle. He's definitely not Orlok himself. Run away! As Orlok presumably takes his carriage around back, Hutter enters the castle through its automatic doors and finds, oh wow, look at that! It's Count Orlok, who's definitely been there the whole time and who is not just driving that carriage. Orlok is played by Max Schreck, who gives an incredible physical performance. He wasn't production's first choice though. Murnau originally wanted the role filled by Conrad Veidt, already known for the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Veidt wasn't available, but I do feel like Murnau modeled Knock after that movie's titular villain played by Werner Krauss. Hutter and Orlok settle in for an awkward dinner. Orlok works on his crossword puzzle, while Hutter cuts bread like he's never seen a knife before. Oh, and look at the time. It's bone o'clock. Schedule time to cut your finger open. Orlok figures out a 5-letter word for tasty treat that starts with B, but Hutter says no thanks bangs when he tries to take a sip. Yo, dude, maybe forget the commission and get out of there. But instead, Hutter just goes to sleep. Listen, I don't want to blame the victim here, but Orlok's not exactly hiding his undead affiliation. He straight up tells Hutter that he goes to sleep at sunrise after trying to treat his finger like a juice box. But Hutter doesn't give a bat's ass. Not even when he wakes up to find 2 identical bite marks on his neck. He just finds that shit funny. He finds everything funny. That Hutter is a weird fucking guy. He writes them off as mosquito bites in a loving letter to Ellen. Sounds like a case of West denial virus. Oh, if only he could mosquito bite her neck right now. But hey, at least the mailman came by. If he had missed him, he'd probably have to wait a whole nother month. Nighttime returns, which means it's Orlok o'clock again, causing Hutter's blissful ignorance to fade to fear. He tries to push through his sales pitch, but fumbles and drops a picture of Ellen. The Count immediately becomes horny for her. This is the Romanian equivalent of a cartoon dog's eyes popping out of its head. He signs the deed for his new house, which he reminds Hutter is right next to his. The better to ogle Ellen's biteable, beautiful neck. It's bedtime for Bozo, but first he cracks open that vampire book again, because he picked it back up after he threw it on the ground! Everything in the book is starting to sound familiar, so Hutter finally adds it all up. One vampire, Orlok's on the prowl for a midnight snack, so Hutter hides under his blankie. He watches as this very uncomfortable looking vampire man shuffles into his room. Meanwhile, all the way back in Germany, Ellen senses a disturbance in the force. It upsets Harding, maybe because it interrupts his opium time. Dude looks like he's smoking from a bassoon, straight chiefing on that thing. While he calls a doctor, an unconscious Hutter finds himself in the shadow of a vampire. From her bed, Ellen goes full Danny Torrance and cries out her husband's name, which somehow stops the Count from feeding. Guy got Orlok blocked, but that's okay. Now he knows he'd rather have Ellen instead. But seriously, what's the matter with that chick? Well, the doctor says she's fine, not realizing she's got a bad case of Nosferitis. She probably lucked out though, since this era's modern medicine was mostly opium and leeches, and this movie's already got enough bloodsuckers. In the morning, Hutter explores the castle looking for the big man. He finds him taking a dirt nap in a coffin. A coffin with a cracked lid? Damn, Orlok, you live like this? The sight spooks Hutter so bad he retreats to his room, and for some dumb reason, he's still there when the sun goes down again. He watches from his window as Orlok pulls a tall man and single-handedly bodies a coffin onto a cart. A bunch of them, actually. Then he gets inside the top one and magics the lid back on. Haha, that's fine. Hutter realizes he needs to get back to his lady, so he escapes the castle like a teenager who's been grounded. But he fucks up the dismount, I guess, and gets knocked out, because next time we see him, he's waking up in a hospital bed. He starts ranting about coffins to anyone who will listen. This guy said he's coughing. Get him some water! After Orlok and his Kit Kat coffin bars take a river raft trip downstream, his bed and backup beds are taken to a schooner called the Impusa, bound for Wisborg, Germany. The sailors inspect the coffins and find them full of dirt and rats. Oh shit, is there a stowaway Willard aboard? With Orlok getting closer to Wisborg, Nock falls further under his spell. He winds up in the mental hospital, where he laughs his keister off and eats flies for blood. It's got these 2 attendants straight stupefied. Harding and his sister are having a gay old time croquet as a forlorn Ellen waits for her love to return. He's doing his best, lady. Even though he's still feeling a little woozy here, he's determined to get back to his wife before Orlok cucks him. The Impusa advances towards Wisborg, and honestly, this is an awesome shot. This is a real ship in the 1920s sailing on the water, captured with an impressively smooth camera shot. As its voyage continues, the Impusa spreads a deadly plague from port to port. Its crew members suffer the illness too, and it's all thanks to Orlok and his transparent soul. We can see right through, just so you know, whoa. The sickness quickly kills almost everyone aboard. They die off screen, and we only see the last body being tossed overboard, but the captain's log later indicates we should count 6 kills here. And since we saw a bunch of crew members in earlier scenes, I'm fine doing it. The last ones standing are the captain and his first mate, the latter of whom finally realizes that those coffins full of dirt and rats just maybe might have something to do with this. He starts hacking into them, which wakes up the Count, who springs up from his coffin. Oh shit! It's one of the most iconic moments in a movie full of them. The first mate hightails it out of there, slipping right off the edge of the ship and falling overboard. Why's the captain just kind of wave goodbye at him as he goes? El Capitan ties himself to the helm, prepared to go down with his ship. But before he can Captain Edwards this shit, Orlok appears and says, I am the captain now. He takes control and is apparently able to speed the ship forward using his breath? Wow, damn, that's cool. He's like a walking horn of fair winds. The ship comes sailing in across open water before finally floating into port. The look of the town back there reminds me of Arendelle. Wait, who's Arendelle? The fictional town of Wisborg was played by a couple of German locales, mostly Wismar and Lübeck, which offers walking tours of the filming locations. Lübeck played a bunch of the streets and buildings, including Hutter's house and the abandoned building Count Orlok purchases. His ship's arrival was filmed at Wismar's Old Harbor, and the movie's opening shot was filmed from a church tower in the town. Although the prominent nave there was damaged in and ultimately destroyed from a World War II bombing raid. Orlok's castle was played by the Orava Castle, nestled in the Tatra Mountains in northern Slovakia. It's still there today, and damn would I'd love to visit it sometime. Everyone in Wisborg can feel the Count's arrival, especially Ellen, who's fallen under his spelling. And we can't forget the one who knocks. It got so bad that he quit his job and got a new job climbing the walls. He gets so worked up, he manages to strangle his guard to death and escape. But no one's more excited than Count Orlok, who's ready to emerge from the hall. The special effects are equivalent to stop motion that 4-year-olds do and upload to YouTube, but hey, it was 100 years ago. What the fuck do you want? The Count runs all over town with one of his coffins, which is filled with Transylvanian dirt. As Hutter's football book explained, vampires must sleep in the earth in which they were buried. No wonder dude brought all those backups. Maybe the multiple coffins is why it's taken him so long. We see him carrying them for a minute, man. He'd probably go faster if he did the vampire hyperspeed thing, but he's just walking around like a regular guy. Okay, like a really weird guy, but still. While he's doing that, Hutter finally gets back home to his honey so they can smooch again. And even from afar, Orlok can't handle that kind of passion. Police board the Impusa and discover the carnage aboard, including the captain's body still tied to the helm. They realize the plague has arrived, which sends everyone in a scramble to lock their windows and doors. They send a guy out to play a sick drum solo and warn everyone to practice social distancing. Wow, I just realized that some of these extras may have been born when like Andrew Jackson was the US president. The little drummer boy's warning is too late, since the disease is already spreading through town. As a man comes by to mark the doors of the infected, a coffin is carried out of one of the homes. The horror of this plague would have been all too real for German audiences in 1922. Only a few years prior, the so-called Spanish flu epidemic ravaged the country. The flu, combined with famine, killed more Germans than World War I. The plague in Nosferatu combines a supernatural fear with one that hit close to home. This is underlined by Orlok's association with rats, plague carriers, and his resemblance to them. His fingernails are claws, his skull is emaciated, and the fangs in the center of his mouth mimic rat incisors. Orlok's rodent-like appearance also brings up the concern of anti-Semitism. Both he and Nock sometimes seem like Jewish stereotypes, from Orlok's hook nose to the way Nock plots against his own townspeople in service of a foreign land. The cryptic letters they send each other even include the Star of David, although it's more likely that the symbols used here come from producer Alvin Grau's interest in Aleister Crowley-like occultism. I don't know if the parallels to Jewish stereotypes were intentional or not, just like with the banking goblins from Harry Potter or Watto from the Star Wars prequels.
My tricks don't work on me, only money.
For what it's worth, screenwriter Henrik Galeen was Jewish, as was Nock's actor Alexander Granich, who actually fled Germany when Hitler came to power. But it's definitely worth bringing up, if only to avoid the same harmful stereotypes in the future. Having moved in, the Count grows increasingly obsessed with Ellen, spying on her from his window across the way. Though Hutter forbids it, Ellen can't help but read his vampire book. Same thing happened 100 years later with Twilight. The Vampire Diaries say that the only way to stop a vampire is for a comely virgin to sacrifice herself. By doing so, she can distract him until he stays out too late and gets caught up in the break of dawn. Tell me, Mr. Hutter, is that so wrong? His ship was docking, his look is shocking, his new home's rocking, now he's locked in. Panic spreads through town as quickly as the plague, causing everyone to feel helpless. Ellen sees a procession of 5 coffins from her window, signaling more lost to the disease. The people of Wisborg are angry, and knock knock, who's there? A convenient scapegoat. Nock becomes the Corey Cunningham of this town and gets chased around by everyone and their mother, and their father, and their cousin, and probably their cobbler too. Look at all these people. Man, I love town-wide mob scenes in old movies like this and Frankenstein. Everyone's just running around, rousing up so much rabble. Nock winds up on a roof throwing shit at them, they're throwing shit back. It's great. Like, damn, did that weird little guy's actor really climb onto a roof? I guess so. Be careful getting down though, my man. Oh, okay, he's got it. Nice job on the dismount. Way better than Hutter. The townspeople commit some of the worst scarecrow abuse I've seen since Pearl before they catch Nock and return him to jail. Ellen tries to focus on her weaving, but she can't escape the looming feeling of dread. Doesn't help that she can see the Grim Peeper watching her from his window, which I mean, yo, is there like an HOA that can do something about this, or what? What are we paying those fees for? That night, she decides to sacrifice herself for the greater good and opens the window to invite Orlok into her room. He's just thrilled about that. She feigns a faint and sends Hutter for a doctor, leaving her alone for Nosferatu's nocturnal knocking. In what might be the most famous shot from the film, Orlok's shadow creeps up to her room. His shadowy hand reaches out to her and cops a feel rude before he reaches her physically and finally sinks his teeth into her. This shot of him crouched over her bed in near darkness is genuinely creepy. It's like something out of a sleep paralysis nightmare. All of a sudden, a rooster crows. It's morning time, and sure enough, he's been sucking neck the whole night. Oh yeah, dude, you have fucked up now. Got too lost in the sauce. house. He stumbles to the window and fades into a puff of smoke as a vampire is killed by sunlight for the first time in cinematic history. This was another change from Stoker's book, where sunlight merely affected Dracula's skin, but didn't outright kill him.
This is the skin of the killer, Bill.
Hutter gets back in time to find a fully exsanguinated Ellen, who lives just long enough to call out his name. The movie ends with the sun shining, the plague miraculously gone, and everyone living happily ever after. Well, except for Ellen. She died. How many of the Count's kills did we count in this kill count? Let's find out and get... We counted 17 kills in Nosferatu, with the victims consisting of 9 men, 1 woman, 1 Nosferatu, and 6 unknown plague victims, giving us this pre-code pie chart. Compared to Universal's Dracula, Nosferatu had a couple extra kills, but that's really thanks to those coffins. With a runtime of 88 minutes, Nosferatu had a kill on average every 5.18 minutes. I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill to Count Orlok. It may not be super gruesome by today's standards, but it gets points for being a piece of iconic film history. Dull Machete for lamest kill goes to the coffin scene from Ellen's window. They're just a bunch of pine boxes. And that's it. Nosferatu came out in 1922 and has a Robert Eggers remake coming out later this month. I've seen it. It's good and horny. Until next time, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count.
On the next Kill Count.
Angel Falls is a wonderful town with wonderful people.
I'm the best, so the rest.
And every year, they gather round to celebrate the most wonderful holiday.
I give you Christmas.
All is merry and bright, until an angel of death turns this slice of heaven into jingle hell. In what's gotta be an all-time Final Girl speedrun, Winnie Carruthers cuts the killing spree short and reveals the killer's identity. Unfortunately, she couldn't save everyone, so one bummer of a year later, she wishes she was never born. Thanks to a magical Aurora, it works, and she sees how bad off Angel Falls would be if she had never been around. The killer's still killing, her family is a mess, and the townspeople have developed a taste for crack and jackass pranks.
Kick me in the jaw. Go.
It's a Wonderful Knife is a horror twist on It's a Wonderful Life, written by Michael Kennedy, who wrote Freaky, the horror twist on Freaky Friday.
You don't know me, right?
That's right, I don't.
No one else here knows me. Chad, do you know me?
I'd like to.
Ew, Bert, no, bye. See?
It's cheesier than a Hallmark movie and gayer than a Madonna concert.
We are, in fact, married and not roommates.
But it's all by design and makes for a very festive entry into the Christmas horror canon. So this week, don your gay apparel and watch It's a Wonderful Knife.
A lesbian tracksuit?
Hey, we would never wear that.
Then on Friday, look under the tree for a Christmas kill count, only on Dead Meat.
Do you smell that? It's Christmas.
It's a Wonderful Knife. Can currently be watched on the pictured streaming platforms. Dead Meat always recommends you watch the movie for yourself before its kill count. It's the only way to have your own properly informed opinion. Kill counts are never meant to replace the experience of watching a film.
Thanks a lot for watching this Nosferatu Kill Count, the first silent film on the Kill Count. This is wild. I watched Nosferatu from when I was a kid. Like literally when I saw him on SpongeBob, I already knew who that guy was. I was like, oh fuck, Nosferatu, nice pull, SpongeBob. I mean, I probably didn't say nice pull, but I mean, it's a nice pull. I hope people are interested in this kind of horror history, even though I understand that sometimes these movies aren't totally relatable. I mean, all the fucking... I guess if I wanted to, we could go back further. Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, that's even older than this one. Is anything else old? Is Metropolis older? It's not exactly horror, but I mean, it's genre. Film history is so cool. We just went to the Academy Museum here in LA. If you're in the area, I highly recommend it. It's got a lot of really cool exhibits showing the evolution of the medium. In fact, I'm hoping sometime next year we can do a video there showing you all the horror stuff that it has to offer. Because even though it's a museum from the Academy Awards, which famously does not reward horror movies, there's a lot of horror presence there. We found it pretty cool. I forgot to put them on the teleprompter, but thank you some patrons like Graham Rosen, Thomas Frolich, Dr. Kuribo, y'all throwing hard ones at me today, Voice Nix, Ethan Rowe, Nicola O'Brien, and Dan. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, everyone. Be good people.